All right, guys, we're now recording. Hope you are well. Welcome along to this lesson. It's been a while, but as I say, welcome. I hope you're good. We're just going to talk price action. I'm going to show you some entries or an entry, which I think was pretty cool. An entry you could have taken advantage of in the markets, basically. Just keeping it simple. I'm not trying to overload or anything like that. I'm not going to go deep into, some of the stuff I trade by, but essentially I want to show you how simple if you just keep things super super simple. I just want to show you how doing that, utilizing point of interest areas, the model, all that kind of good stuff, it's very very powerful. Now just a quick look at the DXY in terms of long term. I So if anyone here is an OG member and has spoken, who was talking to me around about this time last year, we were on this leg. This was the leg we were kind of on, and literally about October, obviously last year we started reversing. So this time last year, we obviously it was about here somewhere. We came this candle or this one here, this blue candle here, literally is a year ago. Literally is a year ago. So all the price action we've basically had since then, really, this is what I said. I put a post up earlier on Twitter and on Instagram, and I said price action this year has been messy. But this is consolidation. Okay, this is consolidation in the market on the DXY. If the DXY is not clean, the rest of the market won't be clean. And it's only really now we're starting to come out of that because we're coming to the end of the year. And we've obviously swept above all these highs. And this is what I said. I said, if you haven't had success this year, I promise you next year, 2025, is going to be amazing for you because, like with absolutely everything, when you have consolidation, you end up with manipulation, you end up with expansion, and then we end up with distribution. So I'm essentially looking to pair that into what's kind of going on right now, if that makes sense. So the manipulation was down here. We're kind of in that expansion. So I'm looking, this is kind of what I'm looking for basically for not just the next couple of weeks, but the next few months, And that's what I want to see because we've kind of broken out of the consolidation, taking out all that liquidity, and now we're obviously pushing to the upside. And we're obviously due some form of retracement, preferably into a discount sort of area. And then let's see how much damage we can do, essentially taking those highs. Now, if we look at this from a higher time frame, and this is important because it's going to give you a bit of perspective into really the overall aim into what we're looking to try and do with regards to the DXY. And this will make things so much cleaner for you if you do this. Because what can we see that we're working out of? And I've been banging on about this for so long. Areas of imbalance, targeting areas of liquidity. It's so simple. The market is looking to do two things: areas of inefficient price action, rebalance. It has to rebalance into here. That area needs to be mitigated into. There's orders in there. There's all sorts of stuff going in there. And the markets, it's inefficient to sellers because there's so much buying pressure happening in here. This is inefficient to sellers, which is why they call it buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. So sellers have come back down to rebalance the market, calling an imbalance. They're now rebalancing the market, and now it's pushing to the upside. And as you can see, this line, these two lines here indicate the really choppy price action we've had in the majority of 2024. And as you can see, we have been consolidating inside of an area of interest. So when people say to me, what are you on the DXY? I'm bullish because look, this here, realistically, we need to be aiming for this next level. That is my target in terms of like long term. So if you're asking me, where do you want to see this go long term? That's what I am. I say it's long term because it's probably going to take a year. If you think this is a year here, this is another year, and then obviously that was a year. That's essentially what I'm looking to achieve. I want to see if we can get there. That wouldn't even hit all-time highs. The DXY has got so much to do before it reaches, the true all-time highs. And you can see we've just kind of been making our way out of it. But as you can see, consolidation, expansion. Okay, so this here is consolidation in the market. This here is an expansion in the market. This here is consolidation in the market. Oh, this here is an expansion out of the market. What have we had? We've had a retracement and consolidation in the market. What we do next? Expansion. Keep it that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. That's what we want to do. Now, obviously, in terms of this is the long-term target, when are we likely to start this retracement? Well, we have now, if I just kind of get rid of, in fact, let me just think of it that. If we just move that there and we just change this line up, if we see here, this is another reason I'll always say trend lines don't work. I know there's a trend for trend lines on Instagram at the moment, but I don't personally believe in trend lines. I tried it at the start of my trading career, and for me, it didn't work. I'm not saying it can't for you, but it didn't for me. You can see this is liquidity. This is an abundance of liquidity being built up in the markets. And essentially, I just see this continuing to push to the upside. And my overall target, my short-term target, I guess, for the DXY is 50% of this imbalance. That is what I'm essentially targeting. So if price can work its way up to there, maybe something like this could happen and then essentially build us up for the next year. Something like that is essentially what I'm looking for, because even though we are bullish long term, that doesn't mean we're not going to be taking advantage of price moving in the other way. We are going to take plenty of advantage on that. This is a weekly time frame. We have swept this liquidity. We've not yet made it to this 50% side of the imbalance, but the main thing to obviously work out from here is that we are coming out of another area of imbalance. So the weekly time frame is currently respecting this area here. So I would still back this to move higher and essentially aim for at least that 50% area. If this level gets violated, that would turn into something called an inverse imbalance. So for example, you can see there was an area of imbalance right here. That was sell side imbalance, as you can see. And then essentially price action didn't respect it. In fact, price action violated it, came back down and retested it, and then pushed in the other direction. That's a very solid entry method. Very solid entry method. But you can see here, we just didn't respect it. We violated it. That now has been turned into something called an inverse fair value gap. So whilst we currently have this area of imbalance intact, that is, I'm looking for essentially price to carry on moving higher from there. If we violate this area, that would turn into an inverse like this one here. And then I would essentially back us to use this area, support resistance, whatever you want to call it, to come back down from. So it might look something like that and essentially look to target this area of imbalance or even maybe this low before looking to push to the upside. Something like that, essentially. But as of now, I am just going to continue searching for price action in there. Now, this is the 4-hour shift. You can see here, price action is clearly bouncing around in there. That is obviously, when you look at things like the news, we've got a lot of stuff going on this week, NFP, stuff like that. So I am expecting this to carry on pushing, but maybe some manipulation will happen as well, because again, we're creating a bit of a trend line now. And I know there's a lot of trend line traders that are going to start getting excited. In terms of what I want to kind of see this week, really to tomorrow or Friday, those equal highs, they stand out to me so much. That's just an obvious target from a weekly imbalance, 4-hour. I mean, if you're a swing trader, there's nothing wrong with setting an entry in there, just targeting that area there, and that is your sort of first take profit, because that's just so clean. Whenever you see equal highs in the market, that is when you know you're in luck, because that's a magnet for price action. Like, honestly, that is a magnet for price action. But look, we can't necessarily trade the DXY. We're not traders of the DXY. We utilize this as a bit of an indicator as to what we want to see price do on other pairs. So for example, if we are bullish on the DXY, we're going to be looking for bearish price action on euro. And we can, once again, we can see that price action has just been consolidating this week, which is absolutely fine. I've no issue with that happening. We're waiting for NFP to kind of play out, but I'm still in the mindset of working out of that imbalance in an inverted way to basically target this liquidity here. Now, it's not equal lows, like it is on here where it's equal highs, but that is still liquidity. That's a trend line of liquidity. And if you actually mirror it here, again, a lot of people on the internet are going to be longing it from here to go higher. That does not work for me. I think that's liquidity. I think it's a magnet for price to attract itself towards, especially as we are super long on the DXY, working out of all of these key levels of interest. So when you're looking at a bullish DXY, you want to be backing that on indices, on futures, whatever you want to be looking at here. This is a futures chart. This is S&P. And what we can see on this particular chart right here is that we had this huge push to the upside on the weekly. That is obviously, it's not really a change in a state of delivery because of the fact that price action was already bullish. You can see here we've been bullish for a very, very long time. But what I would say here is there's an order block that has been mitigated right there. And then we created another order block right here. And we created another order block right here, which is all being really nicely mitigated. So this is like the proportionary order block sort of situation going on at the moment. And then if you look at the latest order block that we created after this huge push to the upside with price, we have been working our way to the pip, literally from this area all the way to the upside. Really, really good entry. If you are a swing trader, you can enter in here. There's nothing wrong with that. And when we kind of move down to the timeframes and just get a little look, we can see that price action very, very clearly has come into this breaker block area. We can see that price has come back into this huge area of imbalance from a huge range to the upside. So again, anything in here that we can present ourselves looking for buys would be, you know, solid sort of stuff. And as from the 4 hour, again, you can see here, there's so many trade opportunities because price action is respecting these areas. You can see there, we respected this imbalance from that weekly order block, which is that line right there. And you could have entered even at the 4 hour order block, you could have entered inside the imbalance, or there's going to be plenty of entries on smaller time frames sitting in here. As you can see, this makes a lot of sense. And a lot of traders fail because they get lost in the source on the smaller time frames. But essentially, from this area, from the weekly time frame where we have just been bullish ever since, as far as that is concerned on a 4 hour time frame, we have been just pushing up and down, just like that. So it kind of looks something like that on a 4 hours perspective. And when you look at it like that, you're looking at it thinking, wow, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. So when we look at the latest piece of price action, which kind of played out yesterday, you can see here, what was price doing? Price was expanding to the upside. And price came into this fair value gap. Pretty impressive. Nothing really to sort of scream and shout about. Again, you can see there price coming into there. This is yesterday's price action, huge push to the upside. Almost like the same thing happening on the weekly time frame. Okay, almost like the same thing happening on the weekly time frame, but we're working out of a 4 hour area as well as a breaker block area as well from a very bullish point from this area right here. Clear target obviously is going to be this high right here, which is your all-time sort of highs area, and it's just continuing to make all-time highs again. You can see there, create the all-time high, came back, continuing to push higher. So the next target after that would basically be this area right here. All right. So how can we obviously be participants in the market? This is where we look to utilize, let me just turn this off here. We to utilize price action because again, we can see a couple of things forming here. This is the New York session. This is kind of the end of the New York session into the New York PM session. But there was a perfectly good entry within there inside that area of imbalance, as well as that breaker block. That is a unicorn model. All right. That is a unicorn model. You can see here, price action coming in and then pushing to the upside. So then obviously since then, plenty of retests, plenty of opportunity. And if you're on a 5-minute time frame, you can obviously be looking from all sorts of perspectives, because maybe it doesn't look as clean to you, but there are entries within here. There's a change in the state of delivery. There's all that sort of stuff going on. And, you know, this is just price action from the higher time frame levels. If you think we've gone from the 3-month time frame, we've gone from the 3-month time frame all the way down to a 15-minute time frame where we're now framing entries in the market. And, you know, I see a lot of people saying, oh, this, is there anything new happening? We'll go over the same thing again and again and again. Look, this here, if you see this happening again and again and again, I want to point the question back to you. So let me just show you something. Let's say, you know, hypothetically, you took this entry and you just targeted there for 1 to 5, or even if you held it to where it is now. If you took it there and as an example, you're taking these all the time, but it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Let me tell you now, if you're doing this profitably, you're going to be rich. You're going to be rich, and you are literally working from higher time frame point of interest areas. So don't look for new things. Look for the same thing over and over again, because the only way you are going to get rich, and I mean like millionaire status rich, is by finding a system in the markets which repeats itself on a regular basis. This entry here is a model that is going to present itself in a higher time frame key level of interest from a very bullish environment. So if we were looking at this for the next time, well, we're not, in all fairness, looking at this now. If I was looking at this in real time, because I know a lot of people here will be like, oh, this is all hindsight. Well, look, we're working out of this area of imbalance. For now, this is hindsight. This is all-time highs, sorry. So because this is all-time highs, really we need a retracement, but there isn't really anything happening. So we're now looking to frame areas. So already now, maybe this area of imbalance could be a key area, for example. Or we wait for another expansion, or we wait for a clear reversal in the market, or we wait for price to come back into this order block. But it's down to you and how patient you can be. Like, for example, I haven't traded anything today. I was a participant. I shared the entry on my Instagram page yesterday. I was a participant in here pushing to the upside. It was the NASDAQ side, but I was a participant in there. And I wasn't interested today because we were just pushing and pushing and pushing. So I didn't take anything today. And I said that in the commentary channel with the university group. I said, I'm not taking anything today. There's nothing to do because we're just at all-time highs. So now we have to be patient. You know, now we have to be patient. And this is the thing. Price will come back. And do you know what's going to happen? Just to kind of set your expectations, because I know there's been some comments about, oh, but it's the same thing all the time. Yeah, do you know what's going to happen? Let me tell you. The same thing that's been happening for months and months and months, for weeks and weeks and weeks, for years and years and years, before you were even born, the same thing's happening. So if you're seeing the same thing, you should be well on your way, because it should be super, super easy now. If you still can't see it, again, that's nothing wrong with that. You're just not there yet, but you will be. You 100% will be. The only thing it's going to take is time and patience. Time and patience. But don't try and look for new things. Try and look for the same thing to the point where you are bored shitless. You're like, oh, it's the same model. But yeah, do you know what? You might make 50K out of that. That's not the end of the world, is it? When you're sitting on your first class flight to Dubai, just because, and you're talking to someone and they say, oh, what do you do for a living? Like, come on, guys. Do you know what I mean? So with that, hopefully you found some value. Hopefully you found some value with this today. I am going to answer some questions to the guys that are on here live, but I will close this recording. This will be uploaded as well. So yeah, if you guys need anything, obviously let me know. Hopefully you found some value from this, and I'll speak to you again soon. Until next time, guys.